What's going on, y'all? It's JD PicKell. Today on the Hard Count, we're going to talk about the current state of Baylor's quarterback battle. First things first, enormous shout out to Jack McKenzie for getting us set with that sweet intro, making everything work operationally and look aesthetically pleasing here at the Hard Count. I want to go through these quarterbacks one by one and talk about their strengths, their weaknesses, and how I see this battle playing out as we head into fall camp. Kyron Drones. The man has been it since he committed to Baylor. He said, I'm going to skip prom, want to go play some spring football. Gets on campus about 6 months early, and I mean, what can you say about the guy? But physically, he has all the tools that you want in a quarterback. He has tremendous arm, enormous frame. The guy is freakishly big, and you can't teach big. Great athlete. He moves really well. The drawback there, he's only been in the system for 15 practices, okay? And that's fine. That's to be expected for a true freshman. But the fact of the matter is he gets to redshirt this season. A lot of people say, hey, we want Kyron Drones now because he's a 4-star, he's an Elite 11 finalist, and Elite 11's a big deal, and it absolutely is. I mean, that means that they've been evaluating quarterbacks all year long, and Kyron Drones is one of them. But to those fans, I would say just be patient. Just be patient and let it happen, because the fact that he gets to redshirt is enormous, okay? You can play early, but sometimes that's more of a detriment to young quarterbacks than it is a help. One, you develop bad habits, and two, your confidence gets destroyed if you're not able to go the way that you want to right off the bat. So for Kyron Drones, the fact he gets to sit back for a year, see whoever's playing quarterback, learn from them, be able to digest Coach Grimes' system, learn from Coach Bell. I mean, he's going to be really good. He's going to throw a lot of touchdowns. He's going to win a lot of games. He's going to be the man in Waco for a long time. But this year, being able to save that eligibility in redshirt is crucial. Moving on to Blake Shapin. Blake Shapin's the guy that I think had the most buzz coming into spring football. We had heard rumors about him. The staff had compared him to Zach Wilson just because he can throw so well off of those awkward platforms, meaning he can be at a different angle and not have his feet totally set and still deliver a really catchable football with high velocity. Obviously, a two-sport athlete at Division I level, that's really impressive. What speaks the most volumes to me is that he had offers from USC to play both baseball and football. First of all, USC historically has one of the best baseball programs of all time. Second, the fact that he was offered at USC to play quarterback also tells me a lot, because USC knows how to recruit quarterbacks, okay? They don't offer you down there at Southern Cal if you can't play a little bit of quarterback. So Blake Shapin, I think, had the most buzz coming in, and we don't have a tremendous sample size on Blake Shapin. We have his high school film, which granted is phenomenal, and then we have what we saw in the spring game, which a guy who hasn't had any real college experience in terms of playing in-game, and he only got last year redshirting in a COVID year. Like, it's all very strange. So Blake Shapin has talent out of the ears. Like I mentioned, throwing off those awkward arm angles is something that you can't really teach and probably comes from his baseball background. He's a really exciting player. He's been a dark horse in this competition. He's going to continue to push Zeno and Bohanon. I think the drawback for him is similar to Kyron Drones in that he doesn't have that college experience that the other two have. So, again, Blake Shapin, so much talent, should see the field sooner rather than later, but I think for right now, you got to look to these next two guys to be your starter this season. Jacob Zeno was the favorite, and for some still is the favorite to start coming into fall camp and definitely into spring ball. There was a lot of buzz about him being the guy. I thought he had a chance to really take hold of that number one spot if he had a good spring game. And that's what a lot of people are concerned about, and why this has become a little bit more of an interesting conversation. Jacob Zeno came out, threw 2 interceptions, looked a little bit shaky. And I think the reason that we expect so much from Jacob Zeno is because as a true freshman, he walked into that Big 12 championship game and played lights out. And so if you're a Baylor fan, you're saying, sweet, we got this kid for another 3 years, 4 really if you count the COVID year, and he's going to be, he's going to be the man. He's going to make it happen right off the bat. It's always going to be this easy. And so I think it's unfortunate for him that was the bar that he set so high for himself, when really at the time he was just a true freshman trying to figure it out too. And now he's in a new system, trying to get up to speed and trying to, I guess, become that number one quarterback for Baylor. But if you look at what he brings to the table physically, there's no denying he is a true quarterback, probably the most true quarterback of this entire group. If you were to say, give me the most NFL-ready quarterback, you go eeny, meeny, miny, Jacob Zeno. He's got the most lively arm. He's got a great frame, probably around 6'2", 6'3"-ish, looking about 210 pounds according to the roster. So Jacob Zeno is exactly what you want in a quarterback. Now, I think the conversation is going to be, do you want to have the superior runner/athlete, Gerry Bohanon, or do you want to go with the good athlete in Jacob Zeno, who has, what we've heard, the better arm? So all that's to say, I think Jacob Zeno is a very viable option. I think you'll have a Coke Pepsi taste test between him and Gerry Bohanon. If you want to go with one of the two, you can't really go wrong, but it'll be about how do you want to build the offense? Do you want to build around the runner, or do you want to build around a more polished passer, you would say? So Jacob Zeno, I'm still very high on, but I think that maybe you got to look to Gerry Bohanon to be your starter this year. Gerry Bohanon, the knock on him has been he can't throw the football really well, and I don't really know if that's fair. I think similar to what we hear about Blake Shapin, it's all a narrative. We haven't had an enormous sample size of what Gerry Bohanon has throwing the football. Because Gerry Bohanon, when I was on that team for a really brief period of time, threw the best deep ball of the entire group. And that was a group that had Charlie Brewer in it as well, who's second all time in both passing touchdowns and yards at Baylor. So Gerry Bohanon can throw the football, all right? He wouldn't be at a Division I school in the Big 12 Conference if he couldn't. Now, I know the temptation is to just use him as a runner, or even some people are saying, hey, if he doesn't play quarterback, switch positions. Because he got recruited at Alabama and Georgia to play linebacker, but Gerry Bohanon is a quarterback and can be the quarterback for Baylor because of his legs. Now, he's an able thrower, but I think his legs is what's going to make him so different and make him such a factor in this conversation, in this battle going forward. What Gerry Bohanon brings to the table is he allows you to run quarterback wide zone. He allows you to run quarterback power. And when you can run quarterback design runs, you get an extra blocker with your running back leading the way. So in that manner, you have everybody blocked essentially. So Gerry Bohanon can keep you on schedule. And also, I think he makes up for what Baylor doesn't have up front. Coach Aranda went out and got Jacob Gall, went out and got Grant Miller, but you still don't really know what you have from an offensive line standpoint if you're Baylor. Gerry Bohanon, with his agility, with his physicality, what he brings to the table from just a physical tool standpoint, allows you, I think, to erase some of those mistakes and hide some of those weaknesses that Baylor already has and is already sort of accounting for on the offensive line with this wide zone and misdirection offense with all those motions. So all that's to say, again, Jacob Zeno is a phenomenal option. Jacob Zeno is a phenomenal option, and if he's the guy day one, you won't hear a peep out of me. I think he's a great quarterback and is going to be a great quarterback at Baylor if they choose to go that way. I think Gerry Bohanon is probably the more safe option because he allows you to stay on schedule. And for me, it's not about who's the best quarterback. It's about who's going to allow this offense to consistently move down the field and stay on schedule. And for me, Gerry Bohanon being able to run the wide zone right, run power quarterback left, when that defense starts creeping up, he's going to have easier throws. Because we already talked about in a previous video, this wide zone is going to make the defense second guessing a lot with the flow and the motion and the run first attitude. When you have a quarterback who can get 4 yards and lower his shoulder and fall forward for a first down, that's going to make some teams creep their safeties up a little bit. So when you go play action, you throw it over the middle to Christoph Henley, who's 20 yards down the field. Christoph Henley is 20 yards down the field, and he's also wide open. So you're not having to thread the needle and throw a perfect bullet pass. You just got to put it out there for my man. And again, that's sort of a theoretical scenario, but you get where I'm coming from. Gerry Bohanon is going to create more opportunities for himself because of what he can do running the football, and he's going to create more opportunities for this offense in my mind. So that's it for us here at The Hard Count. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep this party rolling with all things Baylor football-centric, National College Football relevant, and we will see y'all next time on The Hard Count.